Hi, welcome back. So this is lesson two, which is part one of written content. So in the beginning of this lesson, we're actually going to cover planning. Planning is a pretty big written part of creating a course, and we're going to cover planning first because it's useful to have a map to return to as you are determining what your next steps are and to make sure that you are covering any learning gaps that your client might have. So personally, I like visual planners, so I planned this whole thing out in Miro. But you can also do a simple written outline, and there's a sample space for that in the workbook, as well as an example of how I took my visual outline and moved it into a written outline. So to do that written outline, you'll start with those lesson topics from the workbook in choosing your course type. Those are actually going to be the big chunks that you move from that workbook into this one. And after you write those in, you'll want to return to the idea of chunking or breaking things down. So I'm going to return to the example of learning to jump rope. The big lessons that I might put under the major steps are buying the right rope, how to hold on to the handles, swing speed, and practicing, right? And then under the chunks in the outline template, I might break buying the rope down into things like choosing a rope for a particular purpose, considering your height, considering rope thickness, information on price ranges. And after you break all of those things down, then you decide what type of content you need to create for each one of those chunks. Here we start with written content because the written pieces often drive those images that we need for explanation, as well as the things that we want to cover in the videos. So we'll cover the types of written content first. Aside from being, just anything you write up, you'll find that in the course itself, you're writing up a few different kinds of things. So you're writing up a workbook or engagement instructions, and these are the things that your learner needs to do in order to move themselves along toward the goals that you've set out, the things that they need to know and be able to do. The second type is information delivery, and this can come in a few forms: written content that coincides with your engagement activities, written content that coincides with your video, written content that is additional information to those two pieces. And then finally, in the next lesson, we'll cover some best practices for writing up these two types of content in your specific niche.